walking through a lot of these. It looks like we're going to be walking through a lot of these pieces, and we'll be able to give you some detailed information on this 4-day stage race that you have signed up for. So without further ado, I'll jump in and kind of go through a few things. All of you will be here either Wednesday or Thursday morning. On Wednesday, we've got our packet pickup between 1 and 5 at the Hibble Center. The address, again, is in our schedule of events there in the rider guide. At that point, you'll be able to pick up your number, you'll be able to pick up your swag bag, and at that time, you'll also declare whether you're racing in the Pro Open category for the cash, or if you're racing in your age group and racing for prizes. As you know, we have $25,000 split evenly between men and women. We pay 15 deep with a first prize of $2,000 if you're going to race in the Pro Open. And then there's 5 different age groups in both men and women. And the winner of each age group wins a RockShox SID fork of your choice. You get to choose the size and exact specs. If you're not able to make it to packet pickup on Wednesday, we do allow packet pickup on Thursday morning. And so on Thursday morning, we will open that packet pickup at 10 o'clock at Palmer Park, so at the site of stage 1. Palmer Park, same as the prologue last year. We will do the same start times, which will be 30-second intervals, time trial style, and we'll do our best to rank everybody fastest to slowest in that time trial. So the idea is we'll have minimal passing. There's a number of passing areas on that course, but there will still be a situation where you might come upon somebody and yell trail. Please watch behind you if there's someone trying to pass. And there will be some situations like that, but we'll do our best to mitigate it. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's all a start time of 8 a.m. In each place. Friday is a Monument. It's a brand new course, and it's around 40 miles by the time you get back to Monument. Saturday, very similar stage as last year, both Saturday and Sunday, except for the fact that we start in downtown at America the Beautiful Park, which adds an extra 2 miles onto each of those Saturday and Sundays. And we'll, again, have Daniel talking about these courses in just a moment and places to watch out for. Everybody is invited to the after party. At the after party, which is at Go Patch Brewery, we will be giving out all the prizes. We'll be doing the podium photos. And that starts at 12 o'clock. You're welcome to come a little early if you finish early. But right around 12:30, we'll be doing all of our podium presentations for the overall Pro Open, as well as all the age groups, and enjoying some lunch and some drinks at that point. A couple little things on some rules. As you know, it's time trial start in the prologue. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it is a mass start, everybody. So again, taking a note kind of from the gravel world, we'll sort out your age group or Pro Open category by chip, and everybody, men, women, age groups, we all start in one mass start. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there will be a neutral start. We'll roll out slowly, and you'll have someone in front of you with a yellow vest on, and you are to stay behind them until we kind of get to that first hill and we allow everybody to go for it. So we're just going to get out of town as a group in each of these situations, get everyone safely through, and then you'll be off to racing on those 3 stages. I think the most important thing here is I want to go through each of the stages. We're also happy to take your questions, and if you take a look at the chat box there on the YouTube channel, you'll notice a little chat box. We've got someone monitoring that and kind of giving us a yell if there are questions in there. We'll be answering all of those as they come up, hopefully, or at the end of this as well. You're allowed to ride whatever bike you want. If you want to ride a gravel bike for a day, you're welcome to do that. If you want to ride a hardtail but then want to switch to a full suspension the next day, that's totally fine. The only rule is that you have to finish on the same bike you start with. So you can switch bikes between stages, but you cannot switch a bike during the stage. Keep in mind also, we've got aid stations and a couple of water stations available. Please take a look at those. Those are spelled out exactly where they are in the ride guide. On Friday, there's aid station 1, and then we'll have a kind of a full aid station there. Aid station 2 is where we do allow outside support. That is the only place on the entire course where you can bring in outside support. They can hand you off a new Camelback, they can hand you off a bottle, they can hand you off a musette, whatever you want. You can get wheel change if you want. Any of those things can happen. That's outside support area. That's feed zone aid station number 2 on Friday and aid station number 1 on Saturday. In those areas. We do not allow outside support other than that. At the other aid stations and water stations, you have to rely on that neutral support. So please adhere to those rules there. Taking a quick look at any other rules in question. For the prizes, you must finish every stage. So that means getting a finish time for each of the 4 stages. If you don't finish one, you will be taken out of the general classification, which means you'll be taken out of the prizes. So you must finish all 4 stages to be eligible for prizes. We don't care if you miss a stage, if you don't finish, you're welcome to start the next day. Not a problem whatsoever. There's no rules on having to finish one stage before you start another one, like the Tour de France or something. You're welcome to even skip a day if you want to, and then come the next day and race. That's not a problem, but you will not be placed in the GC if you don't finish all of the stages. Other things that are going to go on. We will have leaders jerseys for the top male overall and top female overall. Those will be awarded at the end of each day. And if I'm not mistaken, it's 4:15. We'll do that presentation on Thursday. And the other on Friday and Saturday, it's at 12 o'clock noon at the start line. And then, of course, at Goat Patch Brewing for the final overall leaders jersey. We're not going to be doing age group classifications each day. So the only people that have to show up for awards on Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the overall leaders for male and female. I think that covers everything. And again, don't forget, you'll need to declare your category. When you pick up your number, you'll get a little sticker on your number that'll indicate if you're in age group or if you're in the Pro Open. And that's kind of the plan for that. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel, who will go ahead and talk a little bit about the stages. We're going to pull up the maps and talk about some trouble areas. and we'll go through that in detail. Go ahead, Daniel.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I want to welcome you to Colorado Springs. This has been my home ground for about 15 years of riding, and I take this kind of job kind of really personal because I've been on your side of the tape many years, and I would be there probably the last 2 years of the Apex if it wasn't for taking some role setting the courses. The courses, as those of you that have raced here before, if not, they are varied from Palmer Park first day all the way through the rest of the stages. We'll run through and actually go on the detail. First, I want to show you how we mark the courses, because I think I got some feedback even last year from Russell Finsterwald, who lives here in town, that said it was one of the best backcountry marked races that he'd ever been in. And that's what I wanted to do for the actual racer, is make sure that there was no question of where you were going, even in a questionable backcountry spot. Palmer Park's very twisty turning on the first day, and so we basically corral almost that entire course because there's a lot of road and regional passes split off. So if you see this logo on the shirt, the Apex, it's basically the purple, white, and green. We have course tape that is basically the 2-inch wide tape that will be on course. If you see that tied around a tree, basically on the side of the trail, we basically string those on the longer days where you can look up and kind of, if your vision is scoping in front of you, you can see those. The marking, the square markings that we'll use will also be the same color, white background with usually the green or purple Apex logos. Those are basically going to be placed before the turn preceding. So you can actually say if you're going to be making a left turn, there should be a left arrow preceding the turn. And then there's usually a confirmation after the turn that you're on the right track. If you make a turn and you basically don't see anything afterwards, or if you don't see anything before it, you probably went off course. And then typically those little blazes that we'll call them that are the course marking, those are typically on a downhill section where you're going faster. We will put them more frequently or less frequently because you're moving at a higher rate of speed. But on the uphill sections, which there are a lot of climbing, we will try to place those about every mile, because typically there's going to be a spot where you're not going to be changing or diverting from that course, but essentially you want a confirmation to know that you'll be going on the right track. So you will see those basically hanging from trees or where we can stick them. Every once in a while, we will put a few of those straight arrows just as a confirmation. Even if you're deep in the hurt locker, you should know, okay, at least I'm on track. There will be a few different markers, especially in Palmer Park on that first stage, because there is some sandstone in there where we will actually mark a little bit on the stone itself with some chalk, or even some of the, it almost looks like flour that you put on the ground. Depends on somewhat of the conditions. If we get any precipitation, some of that stuff won't work. So we'll see if I can actually get some of that, because there are some alternate lines. So just keep an eye out for the markings that are basically the logo's color. So 2-inch wide tape. It can be taped from trees or pieced along the course with arrows before and after the turn. There are no markers that will show you're off course. I know some markings do that where it's like wrong way if you go through an intersection. There won't be any of that per se, but essentially those are the things you're looking for. And the frequency is pertinent, just so you can keep your head up. And I try to put things in this line of sight. So if you got your head down staring at your computer or zoned out, whatever, I can't really help you there. But if you can look up in front of you, that's where you typically should be sighting a little bit, and that the markings will be up in front of you. So hopefully that helps there.
I'm going to jump in and answer one quick question. People asking about support. At Aid Station 1 on both Friday and Saturday, there will be some mechanical support there. There'll be a stand, there'll be a mechanic there, there'll be some extra supplies. Anyone is welcome to stop at those neutral aid stations and get some help if needed, and that's not a problem. Also, there'll be Subaru support riders. If you guys remember, Hubert or Subaru is a big supporter of ours. They'll have riders out there with extra tubes, a little bit of food, some encouragement. They'll be kind of roaming around within the group. Anytime that you get help from a neutral situation like that, that's totally fine. It doesn't go up against you, and it's completely legal. Do you want to jump into the first course? Okay. On day 3 is aid number 1 at the intersection of Old Stage and Gold Camp. Yes, it is. So that's where Gold Camp, after you go through all the tunnels, comes up and hits Old Stage. That's where aid station number 1 is. And on the big days, Friday and Saturday, aid station 1 also has toilets. So there will be toilets there as well if you want to stop for something like that. And again, I think we mentioned it in the rider guide, but we'll always have water. We'll have goo Roctane mix. We'll have goo gels and Stroop waffles. We'll have lots of Enduro bites. And then some extra food that is kind of a non-cycling specific will be there in various places as well. So you don't have to carry everything with you. You're welcome to stop and grab some stuff and then keep moving. If you are ready, then I'm going to start taking a look at jumping in here.
Yeah, we're going to go to the courses and go through basically stage 1 through stage 4. And when we go to stage 2 and 3, I'm going to basically point out the mile markers that we're talking about on those aid stations too. So it's pertinent there.
And one quick thing, I mean, there's information in the ride guide, but please go ahead and download our Ride with GPS Experience app. It has all of these in there. You'll be able to use it offline. It's got information about the courses. It's got exactly where everything is, and it's all kind of very interactive. So check out in the ride guide information. These are the maps that are in there.
Yeah, and we stepped it up on the map side this year to include that because, as you can see on this screen that we're sharing, there's a send to device option. This interface works very well with Wahoo, with Garmin, with other devices, things like that. So the benefit of actually using this, when you download the app, there's actually like a QR code where you can go in and download the course. I suggest you do it, put it on your device if you've got it. And there's, even if you don't have a device, which is fine, you can also do this and download it offline to your phone if you want to carry your phone with you. And you can actually follow along in a little breadcrumb if you use your device. I suggest putting it on your handlebar, but if you need it and to check whether you're on course or off course, it's always there. And it's only about 30 megs of space. So if you do that, then you have all the courses right there and you know exactly what they are. I'm not going to spend too much time going over just the raw stats. You can see that's over to the left, the mileage and everything like that. Basically, you're looking at, this course is a short prologue, time trial start, like Micah said. The start finish is there on the northeast side of Palmer Park, where it was last year, if you're familiar. From that standing start, basically, there's a little road section as we go out, and you can see it looks like a little bit of a false climb there. That's really, really steep, but that's on the road right before you actually make a turn into the first section of single track. So essentially, the course is very mixed, and we have so many iterations of this course that even myself, I had a hard time following it as a course director until just a couple weeks ago, because there are so many options in here that it gets a little bit twisty and turny. It looks like a bowl of spaghetti when you zoom out. But the concept of this is basically a section of single track or some type of challenge as you're going through, and then a mixed section of recovery, open section of road, a spot where you can get a drink, kind of shake yourself out, and then go back to it again. Because trust me, there's plenty of stuff to put you on your toes, keep you on your toes in Palmer Park. If you want, I'll drive like there. So if we're looking at the course, this is the first section. You can see there's an overlap here on the inbound and outbound, but essentially there's going to be a course barrier right there and a course marshal for uphill and downhill. So this is the top of the first climb, pretty steep road. Drop into single track, which is a little bit washed out at the moment, but the Trail Parks has been doing a good job of recovering this a little bit with some rains we've had. But descend all the way down on Kinnickinnick Trail, back along the edge of the start, and then you start climbing up again on Kinnickinnick Trail. This is a little bit sandy with some water bars. You have a nice view of an overlook, basically on some sandstone overlook that drops down into the valley there. It's kind of a cliff edge almost, but you're not super close. There's been some new trail cut right at this little turn here from last year, and this was something they did as part of our race stewardship, where they recut this trail along the edge of the property line. So there's a new section here. Right around that corner, there's going to be two lines, right and left, which are both going to be open. They're about the equally same, so there's not really a plus or minus. I would say if you get a chance to pre-ride them, they're not that much different. It's just your own preference, because they both have some techie step-ups. I've ridden with some clients out there that I coach, and there's been some people that can ride it, some people that basically choose to jump off, dismount it, either direction they go. It is rideable. It is something where you may save time just by not balling up. You get to the top of that, it's a relief. You come out on a paved road, which is grand view. You have a great view looking straight west here, going all the way down this pavement to Pikes Peak. There's going to be a marshal here at the end that's going to be waving you down to slow, because as you can see, there's a greater than 90-degree turn. You can take some stairs, or there's a single track section right here, drops you back into some single track, and this is off of the road. And then you basically just cruise back a terrace all the way this way, little punchy climb, and then once you get to this section of a pretty proper downhill, it's called South Canyon. Rocky, rooty, kind of runs along a creek bed here, and it's pretty narrow along this section here where you're in scrub oak and close things to your feet as you have a couple little descents. But drop into this descent, sandy at the bottom a little bit where the wash has been. The next pertinent climb up from what we call the Paseo Stables on Grandview Trail here. This climb, nothing really spectacular about it. You can go pretty hard. There's a couple water bars up at the top. Cruise across this plateau, and you can see from this standpoint at this part of the course, from basically about mile 3 or 4 here in, all the way to this point, you're up on the plateau of Palmer Park. And you'll see, if you've never been here before, it's basically got a bunch of valleys that you descend and a plateau up top. So once you get up on this plateau here, you cruise across the plateau. There's a little rock drop option right here. If you go right at the end of this plateau, and then if you don't want to, you can stay close to the tree, cruise along this plateau more. You'll come out, pop out on this road, cross over, and then you're back on a trail that was built for the race last year yet again, improving the access that we have here for the trail and users. Cruise across this, and then you'll come back down, hit the road again, a little section to relax, descent on the road, make the turn back into the single track, and then you'll cruise back over this way. You're still up on the plateau, and this is where you head out to what's called the open dog leash area for here. As you cruise, you'll cross over this steep, punchy section. I have to say, I was here at this point last year, and it's steeper than what most people think. A lot of real loose as I cross the road. Yucca Flats area, this can be kind of challenging. There's lots of cacti off the edge of the trail, twisty turny, but lots of fun up here. There's a drop. You can roll it or drop it just about a foot somewhere in this trail. As you go all the way out to the point, this is an amazing view overlook. It drops a couple hundred feet down into the valley over the stables. As you make a quick turn, don't forget to take a breather and look out as you overlook Pikes Peak to your west. You may be cross-eyed by this point, but you get a little bit of a breather.
Photos will be there.
Yeah.
There'll be a photographer there taking your photo.
And we'll pause here and take some questions too, if you've got some after we run through this, or if they're checking now if we've got any pertinent photos or questions. As you get to this point, that was pretty challenging on Yucca. So then you come out on this Mesa Trail, which is basically out in the dog run. This is double track. This section, which gives you a little bit of reprieve to take a drink, shake your hands out, and then you drop into this next section of trail. It looks like a small descent, but it's kind of fun. Roll this way, all the way out. There's a drop over in this section closer to Mesa Trail, and also there's a exposed ridge on this to be noted. So as you can see, I'm noting some special highlights on here. Even I've only have one exclamation or caution area. There's a couple spots where it behooves you to pre-ride it if you can, because there's some exposed spots. This is a plateau. There's lots of rock edges and things like that. But as you come out here, a couple little sections, what looks like a duck to me is basically all double track. As you cruise across this way, double track, nothing but just kind of going hard, putting your head down, drop in off the double track here. And this is kind of where you're in the last 3 miles of the course. Single track new descent that they built last year for the race as well. That's nice and fun and flowy, has some features to it and berms, all the way down to the end of Lazy Land. You'll come back up a nice set of single track, traverse over here, double track gravel road climb. Don't go too much, because then you're going into this cautionary area of Little Moab, and there's going to be some alternate lines in here. Basically, there's going to be a green line and a blue line, or basically a blue and black, basically, because they're both a little bit spicy. This is where I'm going to try to really mark it well. We are marking off the slab area that was an open line last year, and that's why this has a caution. They have changed that rock line to where there's no longer a roll at the bottom of it, and it's what I've deemed is not really worth leaving in there to be safe. So just be cautious. One of the lines that was there last year is not there this year. When you get down to the end, nothing really special besides climbing back up some double track and single track all the way to this roundabout, picnic table, and one final descent down to the line. I wanted to go through that one in detail just because there are some special things with it being a short and fast, intense prologue. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
If we are, we'll try to take care of those within the chat there and see what we've got going on. Okay. And just one more cautionary tale. At this event last year, 2 people broke collarbones on day 1. So there are some spots there that you need to watch out for. Highly suggest pre-riding. This is kind of our most technical day for the most part. It's an in-town park. There's a lot of little, turns and quick surprises around every corner. So strongly suggest getting out there on Wednesday morning or before your start time on Thursday morning and trying to do a lap, or at least getting an idea for some of those sections, because they're pretty important to kind of check out. So any questions? Have we seen any questions come through on that? Okay, well, then we're going to head into the next day. This is our new course, and we're going to jump into that. Our new course, which is here in Monument. Keep in mind, for those of you that are staying in downtown Colorado Springs, Monument is about a 20-minute drive north of Colorado Springs on I-25. So give yourself a little bit of time to get up to Monument and to the start line, which is on downtown on Front Street. One quick question. Asking about the blue-black line. There's as Daniel said, there's a couple of sections, and he'll probably come out there with some spray paint. They won't be actually paint; it'll actually be chalk.
Yeah, I'm going to try to use chalk on the sandstone if I can, depending on if we have any precipitation, and or some lines on like different colored, like basically flour that they mark kind of like cross-country running courses with on the rocks and on the trail themselves, because those 2 lines cross. One serpentines down, the easier one does, and the other one is more of a straight shot straight through the rocks. So it's not intuitive as you approach them, but that's why it's important to pre-ride and know what they are.
Yeah. And the course is basically the same as last year. So there are some changes. There's some new trail that's been built thanks to Medicine Wheel and Renfee. So there is some new sections that where they've been rerouted, but it's mostly the same as last year.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to stage 2 here. You're going to start in downtown Monument, and you're going to finish kind of in Monument Preserve. One quick note on this. You'll see kind of where the parking is. It's right at the start line in Monument. That's where we want everyone to park, right there in downtown Monument. The finish line is only about 2 miles away, and it's almost all downhill to coast back from the finish line. Please note, there is no parking at the finish line. Please don't send your family, your staff, your friends to the finish line on day 2. There is no place to park. It is literally like a dirt road and a neighborhood. Forest Service has said, please do not park in this area. So if you tell somebody to go meet you at the finish line, there's really nowhere to go. We're kind of referring to it as the end of timing. You still need to go ahead and ride back to the start line, because the start line is the finish line, and we ask that you do that on days 2, 3, and 4. We might have some water there at the finish line, just in case someone is, on the edge of dehydration, but there's going to be no amenities. It's not an aid station there. We're literally going to just have an end of timing line, and that's it. So that's right there at mile 37 in Monument. And so you'll just have an easy cruise back, only 2 miles to the start line from there. Daniel, I'll let you take it from here.
That's very important. If it is going to be turned into basically like a an airport pickup. You're going to be sent away.
Yeah.
So as you can see here, there's the green start line. This is all paved. There is a railroad track here. So if there happens to be some train passage, then everybody's going to be stopped, but it shouldn't be an issue based on what we've seen and their schedule. Paved all the way down. This is where there's going to be a neutral rollout all the way to this point. And then once it starts heading uphill, this is kind of the low point. This is where the neutral is going to end, and then the neutral pull off and racing begins. This is paved up until you see the dotted line start here at the Monument Reserve. And this is Mount Herman Road. So everything that you see going up outbound this way, if you follow the contour, is going to be basically a double track road. There's not much descent, as you can see on this. And the course overlaps at this point, basically about 6 miles in and this about 5.5 miles from the finish. So this is the inbound course crossing and coming back down. So just not to get confused, it's kind of hard to see here, but you can see mile 4, mile 5, mile 6. This is outbound climbing all the way to this point. So just so you're following along, just before mile 11 at 10.8, this is where we're going to have our first aid station. This is essentially, 10.8 miles of climbing to this point. So depending on your average speed, you can kind of do your own math. This is where it drops off of Mount Herman Road onto what's considered Ensign Gulch. And this is a little bit of spicy gravel from that standpoint. It's double track, but this is more of a Jeep road. All of this section, all the way down to this point, is kind of fun. It has some water bars in it. You can send it if you want. There's some washouts that even on these twisty sections. It's almost like some burned corners. There are a few that you really need to watch out for because it looks like the road is going to go straight. And you can't see here, but this one, essentially there are spurs where it looks like you could just go off into the next road. So keep your head up on these because they are easy to make the wrong turn, especially if you've got your head down. This is going through a logging area where they've done some logging in the last year, but it's nice and open climbing. There are some trees still in there, so it's not completely bare, but there have been some things out on the road just for where other users have been out there full driving and stuff like that. So this is all gravel road climbing until you get to basically Rampart Range Road. And not to bring up any horror memories or nightmares from people that did Rampart last year, it's only a short section of Rampart right here. And then we drop into a great section of single track and what's considered Lovell Gulch. This is out of Woodland Park. So you'll descend underneath a power line, and there is a super steep little climb that's muted out down here at this point, but it'll make you earn this descent. Steep descent all the way down to here, and then a nice valley climb all the way back up in a meadow to this point. This will be two-way crossing because you notice we did counterclockwise. We'll have marshals there to make sure that the outbound and inbound traffic are being safe as far as crossing. It's a better experience doing it that way, even though crossing isn't the most ideal. Nothing really to note going north on Rampart Range Road here, except for we will have some motos out on this day leading out the riders. Once they get to this point, they will go way ahead because bikes are faster than motos on these trails or on these roads. But we will have four motos leading the lead group across this because this is a heavily used ATV road, camping, all kinds of stuff off
And it's open.
And it's open to traffic. It has water bars in it. It has loose terrain, all that kind of stuff. So you need to stay right as best you can, especially if you're not the lead riders, which there are probably going to be hundreds of you that aren't the lead rider. So you need to stay right because around these corners, people pulling RV trailers and ATV, RZR trailers, all kinds of stuff, moto trailers, they can't slow down as fast as you can and get out of the way. So can't reiterate enough, it's your responsibility to stay right. Once you get to this point on the course, this is aid station just before mile 24, after you turn on Balance Rock Road. And just note, don't turn on this road. You'll be going back to the start-finish line if you do. This is Mount Herman. Basically, you want to go all the way to Balance Rock Road. We'll have it marked. This is a less used dead-end multi-use road. Essentially, it's more narrow. It has some climbing as it goes on this plateau. But essentially, this is your second aid station on the day. Once you get to this point, you may encounter ATVs and that kind of stuff, but we will send a moto ahead to notify or look for people as far as like if they are on the course. But there's lots of little spurs, so we can't catch everybody. It's your responsibility to keep your head up because everything is open to other users. I don't know how I can say that enough. because you may encounter hikers, bikers, motos, anybody, Jeeps, RZRs, all kinds of stuff. Hopefully that it'll be lessened because we put out pre-notice signs, but this is all the way across to this point, about mile 28, pretty much rolling climbing. It does get dicey. This gravel descent, even though it's double track, you could get out of control on some of these corners. I've even had some of my pro friends that podiumed here last year send me a message like, wow, you can get yourself into some trouble on this. So slippery and off-camera in areas. So just be cautious because you are pretty far from a lot of things on this road with it being dead end, because you can't really access it from the side of the race course or the start finish line. You have to come in all the way you raced in. As you can see on this course here, the marking changes. This is a steep little single track ledge. It drops into Limbaugh Canyon, all single track, and don't discredit the last 7 miles of this course. From this point on, bring your A game. You've got a nice valley through this descent here, and then you have some steep climbing through this crossing, and a nice descent to you'll have a final little water stop here. It's not a true aid station per se. It's more of just a minimal stop. You'll drop into 715, and this is where there's lots of demanding rocks, kind of a little enduro-esque descent down to this creek. And to turn back into the valley and go into this monument preserve, there's lots of little twisty turning rocks, and you want to make sure to not bring your skimpy tires for the last little bit of this or slow down. It's pretty demanding, and you want to try to save some freshness as well for the end before the finish. It's really important.
Yeah, and just from my standpoint, do not underestimate this day. It is a long, hard day, and from the time you cross over here at approximately mile 33, when you cross over Mount Herman Road, you probably are going to hit the most technical 2 miles of the entire week, I would say, on this descent down 715, and you're going to be tired. So save a little bit, because it is going to be really hard after a long day where you're riding a lot of ball bearings on top of hard pack. People look at this and they're like, oh, it's a lot of gravel road. And it's a lot of gravel road, but it is technical in a way that a lot of people don't quite have a handle on until they actually get on it.
Yeah.
So
anything's technical is speed. And I say that about a lot of events they say are only gravel, because when you add speed to any aspect, it's making it more challenging. So yeah, you want to bring the trail name is called Stupid Trail, and it's named that for a reason. It gets a little crazy there toward the end, but we wanted to have some experience to drop in there and get some good single track. And there's some more out there to be found. So
yep, so it'll be kind of big, chunky, a lot of rocks, even some climbing uphill, really rocky. There'll be some stuff where I guarantee you're going to get off your bike and push it for a little while and then jump back on. That will absolutely happen between mile 33 and about mile 35 on this course. There's some tough spots.
Yeah, I call it a lot of wheel chalks. There's one, as soon as you get over one obstacle, there's another one ready to grab your front wheel, both uphill and downhill on that section. So yeah, very important.
All right, so we're going to get to the next one. There's been one question that says about parking in downtown Monument. You are going to park right there between 2nd and 3rd Street off of Front Street. There's a parking lot that's kind of in between Trails End Tap Room and La Casa, which is a Mexican restaurant, which is great. It's Mexican food and beer right after the event. You're all set on post ride. But there's a good sized parking lot there. There's also some public parking in a number of areas. So if that spot gets filled up, we'll have some parking folks pushing you to some of the parking, public parking in the downtown area. Please don't park on 2nd Street. That's kind of a little bit more touristy, and about a bunch of restaurants who going to want some patrons to be able to park there while you're out riding. So there's a number of spots right there at the start line where you can park.
One thing worth noting on this course as well is just like today in Colorado Springs. It went from being 90 yesterday to a high of 60 today. We had really good weather last year, but this is one of those where if you look at the absolute elevation that you're at, from where you start to where you go, you can be pretty high for the majority of the course. So this is one where you want to be cautious depending on if there's adverse weather to, pack a rain jacket or have somebody up at the second aid station with that support like Micah was talking about, with a, musette bag with a jacket or something like that. So think about those things that will help you have a better experience as well. Because when I did this pre-riding it, it was in the middle of the summer and it was cold and rained on us all day, even in July. So things can change in the Rocky Mountains.
Bring a jacket. Just bring a jacket, especially on the on some of those. Okay, we're on to the next course, and yes, to be clear, aid station number 2 at Balanced Rock and Rampart is where the neutrals, the support, where you can send support people. We are going to go on to the next one.
And while Micah says that, there's
yeah, it's all in the ride guide too. You can look at it there.
One thing to access these points, it may not seem like you would want to go up the course. Access that point on the course is probably best to go up through Woodland Park and not on the race course itself. It's a little bit quicker. So we're moving on to stage 3, the Queen Stage, Gold Camp, presented by Huberger Motors. This was the same as last year, essentially. So from that standpoint, we basically start in downtown Colorado Springs. Start finish line on day 3 and 4 is the same. So this is America the Beautiful Park, right next to the new Olympic and Paralympic Museum. Great little start finish venue where there's a festival and everything down there. We'll roll out on the bike path with neutral support through a couple tunnels. So we will be closed. This is I-25, and then there's another tunnel here that we go. As we roll around, there's a little circle here that you can see at this 1 mile point. This is like a little out of the tunnel and out onto the road. We're going to pop out onto the 8th Street and have police support here to cruise up the side of the street in the bike path in one closed road. And then we're going to drop into Bear Creek Park. And you can see that this neutral ends within Bear Creek Park. So nobody's racing at this point. We're going to get through this tunnel safe, pop out on the side of the road. Everybody gets a few minutes of warm up, and then the start line or the timing begins just before. This is where, if you're familiar with last year, this is where starting and staging will start last year. So it's not anything really different. We're just racing a little bit sooner. Same thing, we're going to go through the single track in Bear Creek. There is a little bit of a change possible heading up, where we will take a little bit different of a route, but there's nothing really different as we roll out this course. I would say there's basically about 23 miles of climbing all the way from this river valley from that standpoint. So there is an aid station, water outbound only, as you cross the gate going into the Gold Camp closed road. The one descent you would have would be this one little collapsed tunnel at mile 10 or just before. And essentially from that standpoint, there's a little dicey creek crossing after that. There's 3 alternate lines across there where you can drop it, roll it, everything like that. So beware of that. If you go left, there's some steeper drop lines. But you're climbing all the way until this aid station, 17.5 mile. And this is also the time cut at 11 o'clock on that day. So if you don't make it to this point by 11 o'clock, we're going to cut time at 11 o'clock there at 17.5 miles. You still climb all the way up to this point, cross over. The first proper section of single track is here at mile 20. This is a 626 cut through moto road, pretty rugged, challenging uphill and downhill rocks. You'll come out on a Jeep road, pretty rugged Jeep road. You'll hit aid station number 3, basically 2, I guess, because the first one's a water stop. This is your last chance for aid. Once you cross this point, this is where the Jones Park single track moto trail jumps in. Fun descent all the way down here. If you rode this last year, this is a puncher ticket. Have a great time all the way down to the finish. Captain Jack's. So there will be return to start flags that basically return you back to the start finish line. So don't be, when you're throttled at the end of the day, when you get to this point, there will be markings that are reversed on the road and the trail to get you back to the finish. So even if you're a little bit depleted from that standpoint, there's going to be a little bit of stuff here at this finish line, just water basically to get you back. And then we're going to send you back to the venue and festival downtown so you can get all the stuff that's going on there and greet everybody that was with you for supporting your race.
Yeah, so that's basically the plan on that. It's very similar to last year's. If you rode last year's course, it's just got a little bit of a 2-mile thing ahead of time. This is hands down maybe the most famous descent in Colorado Springs, Jones Park and Captain Jack's. It's a blast. The 24 mile climb will be worth it by the time you get to the bottom. But that'll be kind of pretty much the plan and what's going on at that point.
Okay. We're going to move on to stage 4. Stage 4 is basically you're still starting and finishing in the same spot on this day. So the start line downtown, nothing changed all the way through Bear Creek. Last year, we went on a little techie trail out of this. We're going to change it a little bit to get out on the road and get out of town a little bit quicker because the front of the group kind of caught a few of the back of the group last year with the overlapping traffic. We still have the high drive climb, which is a big challenging ascent. And this little info thing is basically where racer traffic's crossing at the top of the high drive climb. After this big, long climb here on the double track, then you drop into Captain Jack's, which you'd already done once in the previous day you finish. The difference is when you get to this point, the aid station will be at mile 10.5 here at the finish line. You'll cross quickly over Gold Camp Road with some marshals and drop into single track climb ascending next to the canyon all the way on this punchy single track. Don't discredit how challenging this section can be because it's a lot of ups and downs in this canyon. You'll come up, cross over this upper parking lot that you rode the day before, essentially go up the gravel, which you rode yesterday, just a mile, and then you'll start Buckhorn climb. You'll climb to the top of that. At basically mile 16, you'll start the full Captain Jack's descent. And from that standpoint, you'll descend back down Upper Jacks and Lower Jacks again and finish at the end of the stage at mile 19. So again, very similar to last year. Keep in mind that there is some traffic here. The front will catch the tail again. So if you're kind of in the front, be very aware that you're going to catch lap traffic and just be nice about it. We realize you're racing, but not everyone can get out of the way right away. It's kind of crazy with some of these scree troughs. Yeah. And then if you're getting lapped, or you think you might be getting lapped, then please keep in mind there might be riders behind you yelling to get there that are racing for cash. So please give them the right of way whenever possible. And I did speak with some of the riders that got caught last year, and they said their front leaders were very courteous. So thank you guys last year, those that were in the money. They said that they were the most courteous passing. It's usually the people that are a little bit distraught racing for the lower placings. They're a little bit on the edge. So from that standpoint, everybody, whether what place you're racing for, be courteous if you come upon somebody, because everybody's out there for the experience from that standpoint. So front runners, be courteous, and also just tell which side you're passing on if that's the case. Let the person tell you which way to go, or give them the right of way if you hear somebody coming. So from that standpoint, it's easier to do that, and it only takes a matter of seconds.
All right, well, that's going through all of the stages. Again, take a look at your rider guide. We're gonna wrap this up in the next minute or two. So if you've got any more questions, please put it into the chat there with YouTube. And we're going to kind of wrap this up here so that we can you go ahead.
One of the things is with the courses that we have here, they've been changing throughout the year. The conditions change from week to week. I went out on Labor Day and some of the things were washed really bad, and then a week they were well done. So from that standpoint, just make sure that you guys know that we are working on the trails and we've had some improvements made, but also with any kind of rains or things like that, things can change the week of. So we're working on that, and basically know that you can expect something different if you raced it last year. So don't think just because you were here last year that it's going to be exactly the same as well. So.
Okay. Not seeing much else come in terms of the questions. Obviously, we'll be there at packet pickup, try to answer as many questions as you have. If you've got some last minute questions, tell your friends. Registration closes at midnight tonight, so don't hesitate to tell everybody to jump in. We've got approximately 150 people that are going to do all 4 days, and then on top of that, we got a bunch more that are going to either participate on Thursday or they're going to participate on Saturday. So we will keep registration for the Saturday event open until Thursday night. So if people want to jump in and do a single day, tell folks that that is still available. Also, quick mention that on Saturday, we will have an expo, good size expo on Saturday in the outdoor festival. So we've got booths, we've got a beer garden, we've got food trucks. So that'll all be waiting for you when you get back from the big Saturday stage. So you can kind of grabbing some food and some beer at that point, as well as checking out the other stuff going on.
And there's also like a kids on bikes mountain bike camp thing that's going on while the Saturday venue is. So if you want to go out and grab some skills and do that stuff, that's there on Saturday too. So make sure to check out that festival aspect of it.
All right, no other questions coming through. We're going to wrap this up. Kept it under an hour. That was the goal. Excited to see you guys this week. Huge thanks to RockShox for being our presenting partner. And then Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance. As you guys know, this is a nonprofit event, and the money that is made from this event, it all goes back into the trails. It's a nonprofit event, and we have a stewardship trail fund. We've already put about $20,000 into the trails for this year, and we're actually going to be building some new trail up in Cheyenne Canyon, which will hopefully be featured in the 2022 edition. So we're excited to bring that to you and lay it out. And thanks to you and all of our sponsors, we're making that happen. So see you this week. Excited to have you here. The weather looks good. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I just ended the stream.
Okay. I couldn't see, I was trying to say, I don't know if they could still hear you.